Women of the World, A Founder's Story by Buencamino-Agbayani. An introduction read by the author.
For most of my life, I existed for other people. I say that without bitterness. I loved my life. I was proud of it. I was a daughter, a wife, a mother. I was good at holding things together. I built a career helping other people rise. I worked in leadership and succession planning for nearly 3 decades. I sat in rooms where decisions were made about who would lead next. I helped prepare people, mostly men, mostly white, to step into power with confidence. I was good at that too. At home, I was raising children, loving them fiercely, organizing everything, making sure everyone else was okay. I carried responsibility well. I always have. And then, quietly, that chapter ended. My children grew up. My parents passed away. My corporate role came to a close. One day, it was just my husband and me, standing in the space where a very full life had been. I remember thinking, is this it? What happens now? More like a soft, unsettling question that wouldn't leave me alone. I was in my late 40s when I realized something that surprised me. I had spent decades helping others imagine their future, but I had never really imagined my own. I got a dog. I had wanted one for years, but never felt I had the time to do it properly. Suddenly, time appeared. Losing my job gave me something I hadn't had in a long while: space. The dog changed everything. He needed walking. Every morning, every afternoon. No excuses. Behind our house in England is a forest. Just trees, paths, quiet. That forest became my thinking space. I walked it again and again, hundreds of times. I must have covered 1,000 kilometers out there. Just me, the dog, and my thoughts. For the first time in years, no one needed anything from me. I read constantly. I let my mind stretch again. I fed parts of myself I had ignored for a long time. One book stopped me in my tracks. Playing Big by Tara Moore. There was a line in it that I couldn't shake. The world loses out when talented women play small. I remember closing the book and just standing there. I had spent my career advocating for inclusion, for gender equity, for balanced leadership. I had built programs, designed pipelines, coached others to step forward. And yet, if I was honest, I was still playing small myself. I was used to being the one behind the scenes, supporting, enabling, making space for others. I realized something uncomfortable that day. I knew exactly what was needed, and I was no longer willing to outsource it to institutions that didn't truly change. If I had 20 good years left, what would I do with them? The answer came more easily than I expected. I would give everything I knew to women who had spent their lives carrying responsibility, quietly holding systems together, and wondering if it was too late to want more. That was the moment, wow, Women of the World was born. Even though I didn't know it yet. Starting WOW. When I started WOW in 2020, I didn't think of it as a business. Honestly, I didn't even think of myself as a founder. Who starts a startup at 50? I thought I was designing a coaching program, a space to think, a pause. Something I wished had existed earlier in my own life. We ran the first cohorts, and something unexpected happened. When the program ended, the women didn't want to leave. They wanted to remain connected. They asked if they could keep meeting. So we created a holding room, a temporary space to stay connected. Within a year, there were dozens of women in there, then 100. That's when I understood what was really happening. I had opened a door. What these women wanted wasn't fixing or motivation. or another framework. They wanted to know they weren't alone. Strong women are rarely asked that question. People assume we're fine, that we don't need support, that we can handle it, and we can. That's the problem. We hold everyone else. We have other people's backs, families, teams, organizations, but it can be deeply lonely at the top of your own life. That's when the phrase that had been in my language from the very beginning finally made sense. Having each other's back. In the quiet, steady way that makes courage possible. Understanding sisterhood. I understood this more deeply during a challenging moment in my work with WOW. We were preparing for a retreat when my partner coach was diagnosed with cancer. Suddenly, everything shifted. I had to face the possibility of running the retreat alone. And at the same time, I wanted to make sure my partner still had the option to be there if she felt able. It was a real conundrum. I made sure she knew I had her back. But someone had to have mine. I reached out, unsure what would happen. Another coach stepped in immediately. No hesitation, no conditions. "I've got you," she said. She reorganized her life, booked her flight, took responsibility without being asked. Later, when it turned out my partner could attend after all, she stepped aside. Her flight went unused. I paid for it. Some people might see that as an unnecessary cost. I saw it as the price of peace of mind. Because what mattered was knowing that if we wobbled, someone would hold us up. That is what sisterhood means to me. Standing close enough that bravery becomes possible. I often say, no one becomes their bravest self alone. I don't mean it as a quote. I mean it as a truth I have lived. What becomes possible? WOW grew because it needed to. Today, it spans dozens of countries, hundreds of women, different ages, different cultures, different stages of life. But the heartbeat has never changed. This work creates the conditions where they can hear themselves again, where ambition and kindness aren't opposites, and strength is shared. I set out to stop playing small. And in doing that, I discovered what happens when women stop walking alone. This book is about what becomes possible when strangers become sisters, and what the world might look like if we took that seriously.